Hello, everyone. Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 302. I'm Andrew, and last week I should have written down the name, but I did not, so I will just say one of you, one of my chat members, recommended I check out the demo to DeoField Chronicle. Rather, the DeoField Chronicle, which is Square Enix, I think. Real-time-ish strategy RPG. So I checked out the demo, and I don't think the game is for me. Which is not to say it's bad. Though I have my critiques, I don't think it's bad, at least from the 2 hours I played. Chicago, hello. Generally speaking, I'm not a strategy gamer or strategy RPG. I don't care for Fire Emblem. The only one that's ever worked for me is Valkyria Chronicles. Love Valkyria Chronicles, but generally the strategy games just aren't for me. And this one's the same. About 30-40 minutes into the game, I was like, yeah, this is probably not for me. But I played it. I didn't make it all the way through the demo. After about 2 hours, I was like, yeah, I think I've had enough. That said, there's a lot to admire about it. It seems to be having a very ambitious story with a far-reaching plot with lots of intrigue and backstabbing and all kinds of fun stuff. So you've got a kingdom on a large continent that's been doing its thing, but the other continent has bad guys on it who've been slowly taking over the whole continent and are probably going to be beating down your door soon. But can you get your own house in order before that happens? Okay. Game starts out with a little prologue, a really nicely animated and presented, stylish prologue. Once upon a time, a prince was trying to avoid a coup and got assassinated and said to his best friend, "You must carry on my dream of achieving peace in Narnia," or wherever we are, DeoField. And so the survivor and a couple of his friends make it out alive. 8 years later, some woman is in a carriage, being pulled by a horse, and they're being chased by bandits. Well, our three heroes, who are now adults, save her. Wow, you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, boy howdy golly Gumphrey. Would you like a prestigious position in our little mercenary army thingy? Because I represent the Duke of Nottingham, or wherever, the Duke of Dunham. And they're like, why, yes, we would like that. A month later, they're moving up the ranks. And every time they're expanding their influence and power, and they're gather as you play through missions, you gather more heroes that you can add to your party. I don't know, but it feels like this is being set up as, they didn't just happen along to that bandit encounter. This was planned. I think they're going to be taking their revenge from inside the house. So that's kind of an interesting setup. The Duke of Nukem, that's a better one, Chicago. I like that. So it's an interesting setup. I like where they're going with that, or potentially going with that. Here's where, despite the fact that I'm not a big fan of the style, well, let me describe how the combat works. So you have an arena, which is kind of presented as a model or a diorama of the section of forest you're in, or the city that you are beating the snot out of zombies. Stylized, it's attractive. It's nice. So combat is real time, but you select your units one by one to move, and you select where they move and who they attack. But it's not like, okay, it's your turn, the world freezes until you do something. No, all the enemies are patrolling or looking around or actively engaging you if they see you. So you have to, one by one, although there is a move everybody all at once button, position your characters, try to do pincher attacks. Attacks from behind do more damage, so distract someone from the front and run around and hit them from behind. There's some... you can cast spell. Well, there is a mage, although she's a... What do they call her? A magicer? I think it's magicer, which I've never heard before. It's pretty funny. So you have a dude on horse with lance, dude with sword, dude with bow and arrow, dude with magic. Looks like there's going to be 8 in total. But what's interesting is you can only have 4 on the field at the same time. But what it's doing is, though you have 8 in your party, though I only ever had 5 before I turned it off, is while you can only have 4 active party members, the remainders you can set as support characters, kind of like you do in Trails in the Sky 3rd, where you set one of the non-active party members as a support and they provide certain buffs. Same kind of idea here, except each of your active members gets their own support staff. Which, when one of the other characters is supporting you, you can draw from their moves and they do buffs and stuff. So it makes the reserve party feel like they're still part of the combat, so that's nice. I was a little thrown off when I first started the game, because I picked the guy on the horse, and I said, go attack this guy. And I was thinking, Fire Emblem. They go, they clash, the damage is calculated, end of turn. Pick the next person. So I pick horse guy, I say attack this person, he rides over there, and they start smacking each other. And they're smacking each other. And they're smacking each other. And they keep smacking each other. And their health bars are like this, and it's doot, 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 doot. I'm like, oh my god, this takes forever. What the hell? And then I realized, oh, I still have control of the camera and cursor. I move the camera over here to pick another person and move. Oh, it's not turn-based, it's real-time. Okay, I get it. So that was weird. Also, you can use items. Like, I remember in the very first mission, I had a healing potion, and I used it. And for the rest of the demo, I, for the life of me, could not figure out how the hell to use a healing item. I have no idea. I tried every button. I don't know how I did. It's probably something really obvious and simple, but I honestly could not figure out how the hell to use a healing item. Couldn't do it. Could not figure out how to do it. And I did it once at the beginning of the game. I have no idea how I did it. Couldn't remember. Oh well. So that's how the combat works. In the beginning of the game, the woman in the carriage that you saved, she's like, hey, we're working on this new prototype item thingy. Want to try it out in battle? Sure. You know what it does? Summons the behemoth from Final Fantasy. Or Bahamut. Just comes out of the big purple giant horned bull monster. Comes out of the sky and rains purple fire. Well, that's an interesting little mechanical device you've got there. So it's an AoE attack that the more you attack, you build up the meter, and you can call in the Bahamut to smite everybody. So here's where I get into the my critiques, which are not particularly specific to the Again, I don't really care for strategy games like this. The following critiques are not a part of strategy games in general. It's this game in particular. The way it happens is you have the entire map, but the enemies only pop up on the map when it's time to fight them. but not in a fog of war kind of an idea. It's like, oh, I didn't know they were there until I got over there. They literally don't exist. Which makes it feel, it's hard to strategize. I think what it's doing is pay attention to one thing at a time, but I'm like, well, I don't know. If there were a fog of war, I wouldn't know what was ahead anyway. I don't know that it matters, but enemies just literally warp in. It's not, oh my gosh, there were enemies hiding behind around the corner. I didn't know they were there because I couldn't see them. It's, no, they hadn't warped in yet. Because they literally just boop, boop, boop. They just Mega Man bleedoop. They just come on in. I don't care for that. It doesn't feel right to me. One of the biggest problems is all the characters look the same. It's really hard to differentiate the units. Except the guy on the horse. But everyone else looks the same. When you've got 4 people in your party, and you're fighting 4 or more dudes, it is really... even if you could tell them apart, it's difficult to select the one character you want and pull them out of the fray to reposition them. Really difficult to do. Because all the character... it's an art style where the characters look very, very similar. Guy on the horse is easy to spot. He's the one on the horse. The Magicker, or whatever they call her, she's wearing white, so she came in late in the demo. She's pretty easy to identify, but the archer, the sword and shield user, and the other sword user, they look pretty much exactly... you really have to squint to go, which one is... that's the archer, okay. It's not impossible. They don't look exactly alike, but they're so similar that it's really difficult to differentiate the units, which is problematic. Also, I just don't find the combat that fun, because it's kind of like, well, put an enemy here, circle another enemy behind them, and just wait until they slowly beat them to death. This is compounded by the fact that the movement speed is glacially slow. It is moving your characters from point A to point B is slow. All of the characters, yourselves included, take forever to die. Even grunts. Just, oh, it's slow, and I found it really dull and kind of boring. While I think the narrative has potential, it's not particularly captivating yet. It feels like, in the demo anyway, it feels like they're rushing through the setup to get you to the meat of the game. Which, kind of rare for an RPG to do that, but fair enough, I suppose. The problem is I don't know who any of these people are. And I don't like I don't dislike any of the characters, but I'm not endeared to any of the characters because they have almost no personality. They don't really interact with each other. The dialogue isn't fun or interesting or cool. It's just very bland. Like, you don't get the feel like nobody's friends. There's no relationships or personality. There's no humanity to latch onto. It's very, very dry. Which is another thing. It's also, this is a small nitpick, but the character portrait art, very different from the in-game character art. Like, the 3D models look very markedly different from the illustrated character portraits that are on the side of the dialogue boxes, to the point where the game opens up with the zoomed out view on the diorama, the battle screen. So I didn't really get a good look at the character models. All I knew them by was their character portraits. So once you beat the first tutorial battle, then you cut to the inside of the castle and you see the full 3D models walking around and talking to each other. I'm like, who's that? And then the portrait for the dialogue box pops up. I'm like, oh, it's the guy on the horse? Oh, wow, he looks really different in his portrait. Not that the portraits are bad, they're just overly stylized to the point where they look a bit different. A lot of the presentation is really nice, though. While some of the characters and environments are a little bland, a little dull, not very interesting to look at, some of the animation's pretty nice. So, some of the body movements and facial movements is done pretty well. They're just not really saying anything interesting. The castle, your home base, is big, open, and empty and devoid of life. It's definitely something that expands as you go through the game, because there's a bunch of locked doors and closed off hallways. So there's a whole second floor that I couldn't get to. So I feel like the further you get into the game, the more people populate the place, and the more places you get to explore, and that's neat. But the castle is just big, open, empty, and boring, and not very interesting. And there's nothing in there, and there's like a couple people standing around. It feels lifeless. That may change as you progress through the game, but in the demo, it was just, how if you watch the Sunday streams, you know how I oftentimes play a game. I absorb the environment and I talk to everybody. With this, I was just rushing to the waypoint to get on with the demo, because I had no interest in talking to anybody. No one had anything interesting to say, and there's very few people around anyway. And that's a shame. So, DeoField Chronicles, while it does a lot, especially in presentation-wise. Presentation-wise, pretty solid. Mechanically, not my bag. Not bad, just not my bag. Even by the standards of people who enjoy the genre, probably a little slow, but I'd defer to people who are, strategy, this type of a strategy gamer, to see if it's as slow as it feels to me. And I think the world and the narrative has potential that's not really realized, at least in the opening hours of the game. So certainly an interesting demo. Certainly not sad. I had spent 2 hours this afternoon playing it, but I do think, honestly, DeoField Chronicle, probably not for me. So, Chaos, hello, says, must be really hot if you have your sleeves. It is insanely hot. It is really uncomfortably hot, yeah. Which is why I'm sweating and constantly shiny. I even have one of my lights off because it's just too hot. And you can hear I have the fan on, I ain't turning it off. It is way too hot. So, yeah, it's very hot. So, let us talk about the second episode of She-Hulk. So, I liked the first episode, and was looking forward to the second. Buy ice cream, there you go. But don't put any hazelnut spread on the ice cream. Might taste really good, but for those of you, if you didn't see my reaction video to Nutella, I had a reaction. A seeming allergic reaction. So, no more Nutella for Andrew. Weird. Anyway, so She-Hulk episode 2, was looking forward to it, and I was pleasantly, not surprised, but I found it a pleasant way to spend my evening earlier in the week. I felt the jokes landed a lot harder in episode 2. I talked last week about the ending of episode 1, where Titania kicks through the wall of the courtroom and stands there until Jen transforms into She-Hulk, and then you don't see it, but it cuts to her tossing a desk at the jury box, and She-Hulk catches the desk, throws it back at Titania. Titania very awkwardly falls backwards, and then there's no shot of her crawling out from under the desk, or getting up, or launching into a kick. She's just suddenly flying through the air. kicking at She-Hulk, and She-Hulk punches her, and that's the end of the show. So I talked about that last week, and I said, okay, well, that's some awkward editing. Also, I would like some... I don't need the whole reason she's in the courtroom, but I would like a general concept of what she's doing. Did she need to use the restroom and thought it might be on the other side of this wall? Was she upset at someone in the jury box? Or the judge? Or something? She just passing through and couldn't be bothered to walk further down the hall to where the door is? Who knows? You know, I just felt... pardon me. Yeah. Excuse me. Let me throw that away. That's gross. Feels and tastes like a small piece of paper. I don't know how the hell that got in my mouth, but... I didn't need to know why Titania was in there, just what she was in there for. She's in there to beat up the jury. Okay, cool. We'll find out why she's there in the next episode. Well, here we are in the... Chicago says, I saw that video. You started off with, quote, I don't have a nut allergy. I should be okay. I did start off. It's not the way it ended. Yeah. I don't know that I'm allergic to hazelnut. Maybe it's the emulsifier specifically used in Nutella. I don't know. But I had an unpleasant reaction to it, so... yeah, no more Nutella for me. Good thing I wasn't, like, totally bowled over by the taste. Like, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. I was like, it's fine. Tastes like, it's cocoa and milk and sugar. It's just, it's fudge, essentially. It's fine. Chicago says, is Titania just filming a live Instagram, just causing chaos to get views? So, episode 2 opens up and explains what she was doing. So, Titania, in this incarnation of She-Hulk, is a super-powered influencer. So, what Chicago's saying with filming live Instagram, maybe. At least around 2010, 2012, that era, which is, I think, the last run of She-Hulk I read. I have no idea what the Titania character's like today, but she was not a YouTube influencer 10 years ago. But that works. That's fine. I'll be interested to see where this character goes. But, according to a news report at the very opening of She-Hulk Episode 2, what was she doing? She was fleeing traffic court. I swear to God, I had to pause the episode because I was laughing so hard. That is so funny to me. Superpowered influencers fleeing traffic court. So she did appear to just kind of be passing through. She probably got a traffic ticket and just punched through a wall to leave. It's like, screw this. And then ended up in another room. It's like, there's a big green monster. I'm going to throw a desk at the jury box. I don't know why. I still don't get it, but I do find the idea of a super-powered influencer fleeing traffic court through a wall really, really funny. That tickles me. And then if you read the chyron at the bottom of the screen on the news report, it says, regarding Titania, it says her lawyers call it an unfortunate misunderstanding and the result of an extreme case of low blood sugar. And again, I had to pause the episode because I was dying laughing at this idea. She's fleeing traffic court, and her lawyers are like, "Oh no, she was hangry. She didn't have her Snickers." I hope we see more of Titania. That's really funny to me. Anyway, I don't know if anyone else found that funny, but tickled pink I was. Let's see. Chicago says, my wife thought the same thing about the emulsifier being what you're allergic to, especially since in the previous video you said you were allergic to Bisquick. Yeah, I've never been I don't know if I'm allergic to Bisquick, but it, at least back in the 80s, no idea if the formula has since changed, uh, caused an involuntary gag reflex. And my mom tested me on this because she thought I was being just an obnoxious, petulant little child. So she made, pancakes, but she made them with Bisquick. I'm a kid. I love pancakes, and it's like, oh hell, okay, it's the Bisquick. He's not lying because he had no idea there was Bisquick. He was looking forward to enjoying pancakes, and he couldn't swallow them. And it's not I'm wipe off the tongue. No, it's literally a gag reflex. I literally can't swallow it. My body rejects it. Weirdest thing. At least it did 30 years ago. Hey, Jared says, do you know what episode was supposed to be the 4th episode? Or do you know that episode was supposed to be the... Oh, so what's currently airing as episode 2 was originally supposed to be episode 4? No. I did hear that my theory was correct last week, that the flashback to Bruce was originally like episode way late in the season, like episode 8 or something, and they creatively decided, we should probably put the backstory first, because not everyone knows who She-Hulk is, and there's probably the best course of action, I think, and if that's the case, I think they found a fine way to do it with the, I'm gonna go do a case. Okay, yeah, I'm a Hulk, let me explain how that happened, and spend an episode doing that. Fine. Especially since I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had some nitpicks, as I talked about last week, but... let's see. Chicago says, oh, that's right, I do remember them saying she was fleeing court. Not just fleeing court, fleeing traffic court. Probably just a couple parking tickets or something like that. And her lawyers are arguing she's hangry. Oh, that's fun. Jared says episode 1 was supposed to be later. Yeah, so that happens in TV shows. Stuff gets moved around. It's part of the process. So She-Hulk episode 2. I enjoyed the first episode and got a good chuckle out of a lot of it, but She-Hulk episode 2, there was a bunch of stuff in it that just made me laugh hard. I really loved the actor who plays Jen Walters, the way she played drunk. That was hilarious. She's in a bar as She-Hulk, and she's just knocking back drinks of alcohol. And someone says, I can't talk to you like this. Can you transform back to Jen, please? And she goes, oh, sure. Transforms back to Jen, is immediately sloppy drunk. The performance was just really comedically very funny. I have no idea. I've never seen anyone actually act like that, and I've been around people who drink. So it may not be realistic, but I thought it was funny. So Jen gets a new job heading up the superhero law office of whatever, and whatever. Same one's in the book, if I recall. And her first episode, or her first assignment, is you have to represent Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, from The Incredible Hulk back in 2008 or something. Last seen in a cage match with Wong in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. How did he get out? Sling ring? Well, it was sling ring. It's exactly how he did it. But interesting that... because it was a weird thing in Shang-Chi. It's like, what? Why? I mean, okay, but huh? So maybe we'll get into that, because I know from the previews that Wong is in here. So she goes and talks to Abomination, who's played by Tim Roth again. He doesn't Abomination out, he just speaks to her in human form. And Tim Roth's performance as Emil Blonsky is... humor is subjective, but to me, was utterly hilarious. Because he's been performative, perhaps. He may be bullshitting. But he's very zen now. And he has an interesting perspective. He says, look, I was a military guy. They gave me super soldier serum to combat an active threat. I thought I was the good guy. I thought I was going to be Captain America. He says, the only reason I went crazy and, destroyed Harlem is because of the damn drugs they gave me. And so Jen's like, huh, that sounds plausible. And his haikus are really good, because he's been writing haikus. But his performance is so, Tim Roth, his performance is so earnest, and he's got these big, watery puppy dog eyes. Is just so damn funny. To me, anyway. I don't know how you reacted, but I thought it was lovely. So she calls up Bruce and is like, hey, you okay with me representing Blonsky? And Hulk says, even though he tried to kill you, he's like, oh yeah, you know what? He wrote me a nice letter and a really heartfelt haikus. So it's fine. Besides, that was a long time ago. I'm a completely different person now. Literally. And Jen breaks the fourth wall and goes, ha. I like that joke. I felt the dialogue for Bruce was a bit on the nose. He's like, it's been a long time. I am a different person now. Literally. Do you get it? Different actor. I'm like, yeah, I get it. And even if I don't, it's not the only joke in the show. You can trust your audience. It's okay. Trust the audience. You got a nail, you got a hunk of wood, just need a hammer, tap that sucker in. There's no need to use a sledge. It's effective. The sledge will put the nail in the wood, but there's no reason to do that. That's overkill. Just use a hammer, it's fine. So they went a little too far with that. It's like, me personally, I would have cut the literally and just kept Jen's fourth wall breaking ha. Because to me that's funny. And then it cuts Hulk is apparently on that Sakaar spaceship heading out in outer space. So, where's this going? He was on Sakaar for a couple years, so did Hulk have kids with, I don't remember her name from the comic book, the Planet Hulk? Is that what it's called? In the comic books, I think it's the Illuminati, actually. They're like, Hulk is very dangerous, so they strap him to a rocket and shoot him out into space. He lands in Sakaar, and he gets drafted, and he gets enslaved and forced to fight. It's Gladiator. He gets forced to fight in the arena, and he becomes really popular, and he gets a girlfriend, and they have kids, and, well, first they do the whole uprising to overthrow the bad peoples who are enslaving peoples, and I think Korg is there. They're at least that species of rock monster peoples. And then he, becomes king of Sakaar or something, and along with the queen, and they have kids, and then he goes back and he beats the hell out of everybody on Earth. You fired me into space, you jackass! Hulk spank you! Whap, whap, whap! And he beats the snot out of just about everyone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's pretty fun. That's, I think it's Planet Hulk and then World War Hulk, is that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Maybe they're going to say, hey, in the movie continuity, while Hulk was Hulk on Sakaar for 2 years, he had some adventures we didn't know about, and they may bring those characters in. That might be an interesting wrinkle. I have no idea if they're doing that, but that could be interesting. It's like, the Hulk had kids, and Hulk and Bruce are one person now, so I kind of have kids. That's, that could be fun. It doesn't. They may not be going there, but that's immediately where my mind went when I saw him on a Sakaar ship heading out into outer space. So. Be interesting to see where that goes, either later in this series or in a further series or movie. So, so Jen is like, okay, I'm going to take Emil's case. I'm feeling good about this. I've got a good strategy. And her boss says, that's great, that's great. Hey, watch the news, why don't you? Have a nice weekend, bye. And she turns on the news, and the footage of the Blonsky cage match from Shang-Chi leaked somehow. And she's like, ah, shit. Okay, somehow he's been escaping prison and cage fighting. F my life. And so that's where episode 2 leaves off. So, do I have anything, critical to say about episode 2 of She-Hulk? Yeah. The biggest issue with the effects is the eye lines with any of the human characters that She-Hulk interacts with. When she was with Bruce in his Hulk form, it's 2 CG characters, so the eye lines are matching fine. I'm finding that in a lot of cases where the CG She-Hulk characters wandering around with the human characters, a lot of times the eye lines are not quite working. That's a shame. There's a weird joke that maybe works for others. Jen says, okay, I'll take this job, but I have to have carte blanche to hire my own paralegal. This is non-negotiable, because she wants to bring her friend Nikki with her, right? And the guy looks at her and goes, I honestly couldn't care less who your paralegal is. She's like, oh, okay. Just the delivery on that was really funny. So she and Nikki are, I think it's Nikki. I don't remember that character from the book, so whatever. She's fine. She's very enjoyable. I'm enjoying her so far. She's fun. So they're checking out their office, and some dude is like, hey, I brought you a welcome to work gift basket, and there's granola bars and hand sanitizer, and here's a map to the bathrooms to poop in. Or it's not exactly that. It's he's very specific in pointing out that if you need to go number 2, these are the bathrooms you want to go to. Not these so much. This is the pooping bathroom. You got to poop, this is the bathroom to use. And Nikki and Jen both look at him and are like, thank you. Is that a thing? The reactions of the actors sold it for me, but is this a difficulty that many people in offices have? Like, not all public bathrooms are fit for pooping. You got to find the right one. What's the difference? What makes one bathroom, public office building bathroom, poop worthy and another not? I feel that this is a cultural struggle that a lot of people, at least in America, can empathize with and relate to. But I didn't get it, because I've worked in an office. In the before times, I worked in an office for 15 years, and there were bathrooms, public ones, upstairs and down. I pooped in both of them. Didn't really want to. Not crazy about public bathrooms, but I didn't see a difference between the two. Maybe I lucked out with an awesome office building that didn't have inadequate bathrooms for pooping, or bathrooms inadequate for pooping. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what this is about. Chicago says, I like how Jen calls Bruce to find out if he's okay, if she represents Blonsky. Bruce says it was so long ago and he's fine with it. He comments he is literally a different person. Yeah, I got a kick out of the joke. I thought they drove it into the ground just a bit too far. The joke, the premise works for me. I like that. They did something very similar in Iron Man 2 when they replaced Rhodey with Don Cheadle. he walks into the scene and Tony Stark says, "Hey, I didn't know you were going to be here." And he says, "Yeah, yes, I'm here. It's me. Deal with it." It's like, I'm a new actor. It's me. Moving on. Yep, fine. I love all the articles I'm seeing online about Marvel finally addresses the elephant in the room of a different actor. It's like, this is not an elephant in the room. This is not something that needed to be addressed as if it's some weird continuity thing. They recast the actor. It happens. In fact, they've had a couple actors playing multiple different roles. Like the woman who plays Cersei, Gemma Chan, I think. She plays one of the blue peoples. Don't remember. In Captain America, Carter, shit. Marvel. Thank you. Too many captains. There's one lady who, the woman who plays the mayor in Luke Cage. She's also the woman by the elevator in Civil War. Same woman. Or, well, same actor. Are they going to address that? No. Because it's not a continuity thing. It's so weird that some people are like, oh, they need to address a in-universe explanation. No, they don't. It's just a different actor. There's several... Some people are weird. Sledge is hammer, says Jared. Don't use a sledge, use a hammer. Sledge is hammer. You know, you got me. Hey, Cafe Fox. Yeah, Cafe Fox talking about she gets a welcome basket that had a map to the best bathroom for pooping. I had to go back and turn on the subtitles to make sure I heard that right. I'm like, huh. I mean, are all bathrooms adequate for pooping, but one is particularly good? Is it like the one bathroom with the bidet? I'm not sure what the premise of this is. I can't relate to it. World War Hulk, yeah. Maybe because she's in Hulk form, she needs a big toilet with toilets that can handle her. How big do Hulk's crap? That's poor Jen. She has to revert back to Jen human form to take a poop because otherwise she'd break the toilet. She's like, took a poop as She-Hulk again. Now I gotta plunge her the toilet. Note to self: transform back to Jen when going poop. Funny side detail. There's a shot at someone calls her. I don't remember. Maybe it's Bruce or something. But her home screen on her phone is Captain America's ass, which is pretty funny. There's also the Avengers Con that's portrayed in the Miss Marvel TV show a couple months ago. They're selling America's ass like little posters or postcards or something that has a little illustrated Steve Rogers, blowing a kiss and sticking his butt out. It's hilarious. I love it. Jokes are funny. There are Jared confirms there are restrooms to avoid completely. Chicago's Chris Evans as the Human Torch and Captain America. Yeah, I mean those Fantastic Four movies are not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they could easily be another version, a different multiverse. But sure, that could be funny if Chris Evans comes back as, was it 616? They're calling the Marvel Universe. Chris Evans as Captain America runs into the Fantastic Four while tripping the multiverse, and it's him as the Human Torch. It's like, huh. Cafe Fox says maybe it's the one most secluded bathroom in case it's... There you go. What was it talking about? Oh, things that I didn't think worked. It's weird to me that Jen comes into work and he's like, "Oh, I meant I hired She-Hulk, so you're gonna have to be She-Hulk when you're at the office." And she's like, "Oh, do you need me to transform now?" He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay." Good thing Jen typically wears very loose-fitting clothing, because, I mean, in the wide shots you can see that her pants are up past her calf and her sleeves don't go down to her wrists anymore, but her clothes still seem to fit. I mean, she did bust the seams of her jacket and stuff in Courtroom in the previous episode, so she kind of lucked out with the outfit. And I feel that's a missed opportunity. Like, her first day at the job, she didn't dress knowing that she would have to Hulk out, so her first day at the job, she has ripped seams in her shoulders and splits in the her pants or something. She had to like tie her sweater around her waist because the seam of her pants ripped, and her she's like, oh, gotta take off my blazer, tie it around. I split the blazer and I have to tie it around my waist because my muscular Hulk butt burst through my skirt. That could be funny. But they do have her. They show her carrying her shoes because she's still not hulking out while wearing shoes because she'd destroy the shoes. So it does show her wandering around carrying her shoes. So that's a nice touch. I like that. So all in all, I'm really enjoying She-Hulk so far. And from what I understand, this is a 9-episode show. So it has plenty of time to entertain me. So hopefully it keeps it up because I'm enjoying it. Alright. So this week was Gamescom. So I thought I would talk about everything that stood out to me. Masahiro Sakurai has a new YouTube channel, and he's posting videos, which is really cool. I don't know if that really has anything to do with Gamescom, but that happened this week, and it's cool. He's put out a couple videos so far, and it's and they're very well produced. And that was all the things I liked coming out of Gamescom. That's not true. I'm just kidding. Big announcement for me, I guess, is they're making a Killer Clowns from Outer Space video game, which, as someone who adores Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and yes, it's back there somewhere, don't make me prove it. I'll go back there and I will pull it off the shelf and show it off. For those who don't know, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is exactly what it sounds like. It's a horror comedy from the later 80s, maybe early 90s, where clowns from outer space arrive on Earth and kill people by wrapping them up in cotton candy cocoons and drinking their blood through crazy straws. Because they're clowns, you see. It's a wonderful movie. Jared says, "Let me guess. Let me guess what you liked from Gamescom." Nothing. Yeah, it was hours of watching trailers of video games that half of which did absolutely nothing to tell me what the game is. For example, Dune is a video game. The trailer is a dude standing on a cliff looking at a sandworm. Then he takes out some knives and he jumps at the sandworm. That's it. It's the whole trailer. Minute and a half of that. It's all pre-rendered. It's nothing to do with the game. Doesn't tell me anything about the game. At all. Tells me it's Dune. Okay. Is it an adventure game? Is it a fighting game? Is it a first-person shooter? Is it a base-building strategy game? What is the game? Now, to that particular trailer's credit, there's a card at the very end of the trailer that says multiplayer online RPG or something. Oh. Oh, well, okay. Not that I don't appreciate it, but if you have to literally spell out what the genre of the game is at the end of the trailer, well, you've done cut a bad trailer, because the trailer should communicate what the game is. I believe this wholeheartedly. People who cut trailers do not seem to agree. And as I've said, you can known IP or known franchises, you can get away with stuff like that. Like new Tomb Raider game, new Bayonetta game. Well, new Mario game. Well, okay, new Metroid game. These are established franchises. We have a pretty decent idea of what to expect. It would still be better if they showed some of the game, but it's like, hey, Bayonetta 3 is coming in a few years. Oh, cool. I have a picture of Bayonetta in my head, and she's kicking the crap out of angels and demons, and her clothes keep disappearing. A couple of years later, they actually show a gameplay trailer, and yep, that's pretty much what I was thinking. So you can get away with that in some cases, but to me, I don't know. It's many people, it seems to excite me. It just bores and frustrates me. But they weren't all like that. Killer Clowns, for example, 70% of it is a pre-rendered thing. And then there's a few quick cuts of what the game is, which is an asynchronous multiplayer deathmatch kind of a game. So kind of like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, where you have or that Resident Evil thing, which I don't remember the name of, but it was packaged in with something. Actually, I think I got that with Resident Evil 3 Remake. I never bothered with it because I don't care. So one or more players are playing the killer clowns, and one or more players are playing the humans, and they fight each other. Oh, there's a asynchronous Ghostbusters game that actually looks pretty bad. Where players play ghosts and other players play Ghostbusters, and they fight each other. That's cool. That seems to lend itself well to the property. Personally, I have no interest in that type of game, so I'm left disappointed because I love Killer Clowns, but that's just not a game style I'm into, so bummer for me. I would have loved a Killer Clowns adventure game, or shooter, or horror survival game or something, sure. But again, it's not the wrong choice. That perfectly fine choice for that property, but leaves me out. Boo-hoo. Hey, Firelight. Dune's an MMO. Yeah, they have to literally spell it out at the very end of the... it's called a teaser, in my opinion. Fair enough. Also, I've talked about this before, but I'll restate it. Sometimes you're very early in development and you don't have anything to show yet, so you commission another company to do some rendered, as Jared put it, a teaser. Still, if I come away from your teaser not knowing what the game even is, I can't. I physically can't. It's impossible for me to be excited for it, because I don't know what it is. It's like showing me a box and going, "Aren't you excited?" For what? For what's in the box? I don't know what's in the box. Well, aren't you excited to find out what's in the box? No. Why would I be? I have no idea what's in the box. I mean, you can tell me what's in the box, and then I'll be excited, if it's something exciting. But if I don't know anything about what's in the box or what even could be in the box, then no, I'm not excited. It could be an old shoe. You know? Could be kittens. But it could be an old shoe. So, maybe some people are just really excited by boxes. I know cats typically are. I'm not. I need to know what's in it. Maybe that's just me. So let's talk about a few things that stuck out in the last 4 minutes of this podcast. The Last Case of Benedict Fox. This is seems to be kind of a hybrid 3D and 2D adventure mystery game. It's kind of cartoony. It's got a nice style. They showed some gameplay. It's got some horror investigative elements, and I like some of the design. I like the aesthetic. It was really eye-catching. It looked neat. One thing that was bothering me by a lot of the games at Gamescom is very bland aesthetic designs for a lot of, especially the larger, bigger budget, big blowout 3D AAA studio kind of games. They all look kind of the same. Like they don't have their own identity. Like Forspoken doesn't look a whole hell of a lot different than a bunch of other games of its ilk. Not that Forspoken looks bad. It's just doesn't, at least in what they've shown, and I'll get to that in a bit, doesn't seem to have much of its own identity visually. You know, to really make me remember which one that one is. If you're Brad Pitt, you might be scared to know. Oh, Brad Pitt wanted to know what was in the box. What's in the box? Here's the thing. I think he knew what was in the box. He just wanted confirmation that was what was in the box. Anyway, so that one looks interesting. Wanted Dead. They showed a trailer that at first I looked at it and went, I mean, it's a flashy beat 'em up third person brawler kind of game. Looks a little bit of Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, that kind of frantic high action beat 'em up swords guns kind of gameplay. I liked the character design from what I saw, but then it started showing more personality, some really dopey character dialogue, but in that really charming way, and also seems to be taking some cues from the Yakuza series. There appears to be like crane games that you can play, and a karaoke mini game and things like that. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I might want to check this out, because, I love Yakuza. Then I saw an actual gameplay trailer, and oh, that's looking rough. It's not coming out till February, so plenty of time to polish that, but it's one of those things. It may just be, the biggest problem was sound design, because your lead character is beating up a room full of bad guys, and all of them are yelling, "We're gonna get you! Someone get her! I'm gonna get you!" And, those kind of things, but it's all this flat monotone, and I wasn't sure, is it the bad guys who are saying that, or is there like the narrator, or is there one guy standing off to the side, because it's like the same voice, and it's droning, and it goes on, and I'm like, oh, that would drive me nuts. It's possible that's placeholder stuff. Personally, for the demo, I would have turned all that off. I mean, the combat looks like it could be fun. It seems fluid. It seems varied. But, oh man, that sound design would just drive me nuts. So, we'll see. Let's see. Fall of Porcupine. Which one is that? Oh, there's a... You are a pigeon who works in a small town hospital, which is an interesting premise. And it seems to be commenting on the inadequacies of the healthcare system, which topical, and it seems to be kind of a RPG slash visual novel slash management sim. Maybe it's not terribly clear, but enough to kind of give a sense of the game, if not total comprehensive mechanic operation of the game. But it was definitely interesting. So, it stood out. There's a game called Last Hero of Nostalgia, which doesn't look very good, but it has an interesting premise where you start out as kind of a stick figure, like a very, very low poly, very, very 80s Atari era character model in a 3D game world, and as you level up, your character gets more modern graphical enhancements. So it seems to be kind of a tour of video gaming through the last couple of decades, which is an interesting idea. No idea how well it will work. I wasn't really impressed by the game itself, and the trailer was not helping much, but the idea is interesting. Ghost Song. Which one is this? Oh, this is... it looks kind of like... It's a 2D... side-scrolly... big open map. Looks kind of like... what's the game with the little bug thing? Sequel is Silk Song. What the hell is the name? It's an incredibly popular game. What's the name of this game? You're a bug and you've got a little sword thing and you're wearing a cloak. I seriously cannot remember the name of this game. Silk Song is the sequel. Jesus, Andrew. Google. Hollow Knight. Jesus. Okay, yes, Hollow Knight. It looks quite a bit like Hollow Knight, but it's got, robots and stuff in it. So it's got kind of a similar feel, but a different aesthetic. It looks interesting. Thank you, Chaos. Yeah, I knew. Entire chat is like, oh my god, Andrew, Hollow Knight. Come on, it's one of the most popular games of the last couple of years. You've played it. You liked it. How do you not remember the name of this game? I don't know. Let's see. Wordless. This is another interesting game. It's another animated 2D beat-em-up, or, adventure combat kind of game. But you play not exactly a stick figure, but you play a character who is kind of rendered as a living constellation. There's a dot for her head, a dot for her torso, then dots for her hands and feet. So, kind of like Rayman in the sense that all his bits are disembodied. But as the character goes through its animated actions, like attacks and jumps and landings and stuff like that, it does that thing where it kind of traces the constellation to fill in the silhouette of what the constellation is supposed to represent. It's really an interesting and striking artistic and aesthetic choice for the presentation. Don't know if the game is fun to play, but it's definitely a looker. I've never seen anything quite like that. I think it was well thought out presentation wise, so that looked neat. What was that? Wordless? Yeah. Dome Keeper. Now this one looks inspired by SteamWorld Dig. So you have a dome that's sitting on the ground on, I don't know, an alien planet that you're marooned on, and you have to dig down and mine resources to fix up your dome and equip it with defensive measures because the evil blob monsters or whatever come out in the middle of the night and attack. And you get a dog with a drill nose that can help you dig through the tunnel, which is really neat. So that one looks like it might be cool. At first I was like, okay, this is just SteamWorld Dig, but it's SteamWorld Dig plus tower defense with a drill nose purple dog. So that one looks like it could be kind of interesting. There's a game called Meet Your Maker, which is what if Mario Maker, but a very generic Doom or Wolfenstein or Quake ripoff, right? So it appears to be a maker game where you make a level that other players can raid and try not to die to your traps and monsters that you've littered all over the castle. I combined palace and castle dungeon or whatever you made. So you get in there and you grab the goodies and you get out. And if you do, you get stuff that you can upgrade your character, and the more people that die in the palaces or whatever that you create, you get more tools that you can use to upgrade your palaces. Neat. It's a cool idea. Visually, it's pretty bland. Granted, Mario Maker just uses tile sets. This is using 3D environments, so this one's really going to live or die by how easy it is to make levels. But it's just kind of, as I said, it looks like a Quake, Doom ripoff game. It's not particularly visually interesting. It looks kind of bland and generic and a little ugly. I think that's kind of what they're going for, but it's not very attractive. No idea when that comes out, but it's a cool idea. I think someone looked at Mario Maker and said, okay, that, but a 3D and monster house with monsters and traps and stuff. Okay, cool. That's about it. A couple other things I just wanted to point out. Forspoken, I mentioned before, looks a little bland, looks kind of like everything else. There was like a 10-minute trailer of that one, and it looks okay. It looks fine. And then they got into the big montage at the very... Because 9 minutes of the trailer are kind of a narrated walkthrough. Oh, you go here and you talk to this person, and they give you a quest, and you go over here and you do the quest. Then you go back and you get your goodies. And now we're going to spend the last minute of the trailer with quick montages of cool stuff later in the game. And the stuff later in the game actually looked cool. I'm like, oh, you actually have some color and interesting design elements later in the... I don't know why you weren't showing off any of that, because the game has looked a little on the bland side. I mean, some of the spells that Miss Forsaken, whatever her... Or Miss... What's it called? Forspoken, has, are big and particle effects and looks kind of neat, but, you get into... So it looks like Forspoken might actually... Could be like Nier Automata, where all of the advertising made the game look like absolute ass. But then you play the game and you're like, this game's actually gorgeous. Why didn't they show any of this in the marketing? Solstice, with emphasis on soul, is that game that this has been around for a couple of years now, but it's coming close to release. It's the game where you play... It's another Bayonetta, wander around, beat the snot out of monsters kind of a game. Difference here is your main character has a ghost that follows her around. Maybe it's the ghost of her sister. I don't know. But that, I think, is an interesting idea and it has a lot of potential. They've not demonstrated it in the marketing I've seen, but I hear that the way the characters interact, both narratively and mechanically, is very interesting. They have separate upgrade trees, and they rely on each other to do cool things in battle. Not picking up on much, if any, of that in the actual gameplay I've seen, but I always thought it was neat to, instead of having Navi nag you, a little floating ball of light, you've got a little ghost girl on your shoulder. I'm like, all right, that seems neat. The marketing's been kind of crap, but visually I've thought the design for a lot of what I've seen is kind of interesting, so we'll see how that turns out. And there was another one called Phantom Hellcat, which was only 30 seconds long, but I liked the character design. So, That's another, looks like a, Bayonetta-esque kind of beat 'em up. You're in a room, 3D, pulled back camera, room full of bad guys, beat the snot out of all of them. Could be fun. Character design looks neat. It was only a 30-second trailer, so who the hell knows? Yeah, that's it. Gamescom, mostly a complete waste of my time. I'm sure these games are going to be great. But man, the way so many publishers choose to market their games these days just leave me cold. Doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. Just means they're leaving me cold. If they're exciting everyone else, or the majority of gamers, then hey, they're can't fault them then. But man, you gotta show me what's in the box. I'm not excited by boxes, not a cat. Gotta know what's in the box, or I don't care. I've got a box. Great. Aren't you excited? No. But aren't you excited by what could be in the box? No. I'm only excited by what is in the box. That may just be me. So, Hollow Knight. Alright. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me. Hope you had fun. Hope you're enjoying She-Hulk as much as I am. Looking forward to episode 3. And I think the new Star Wars show's beginning of September, so next week or two. The Andor thing. I'm actually quite looking forward to checking that out. The marketing for that has been rubbing me the right way. There's not a lot of right ways to rub me, but the Andor marketing managed to, so good on it. So, hope you'll join me tomorrow, noon Pacific Standard Time, for Sunday stream. We are playing, tomorrow's the 28th. So, yeah, we're playing some more Trails in the Sky, the 3rd. And we've got a lot of doors. A lot of doors. I think we've got 4 or 5 doors to do. So, we'll be doing some doors tomorrow. Look forward to doors. Until then, eat your veggies, brush your teeth, get a good night's sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow at noon for some more Sunday stream fun. Till then, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.